Gemma Grace, autistic creator and neurodiverse poet. This poem is called Rock and Roll Princess. I'm a rock and roll princess who doesn't conform to the everyday norm which I'm expected to do as I'm told. Rock and roll gives me an escape from reality. Reality takes me to decades long ago. Long ago I can dress up and feel special in decade dress. Decade dress wearing Elvis Presley shirts and sequin jackets that make me feel happy and magical. Magical I can dance to the king of rock and roll. Rock and roll I can experience the 60s and 70s all over again. Again seeing spots and ballroom shoes in ladies' clothing. Ladies with smiles ready to rock and roll from decades gone away. Away in a rock and roll princess going back in time. Time being able to be free. Celebrating rock and roll. Rock and roll princess finally being able to be me. Rock and roll I love to dance, forgetting my everyday struggles. Thoughts I have to battle and overcome is a struggle. Struggle but I escape into the rock and roll princess. Takeover with Gemma Grace. Reading poetry over the next hour with some nice songs.
Excellent, Gemma Grace, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm great, thank you, John. How are you?
Very, very good. So we're going to be exploring some different themes about, well, your world and your perspective and
Yes.
your passions, partly through poetry, partly through some of the songs that you're choosing on the Takeover. Let's start with Elvis.
Yes.
Why do you love Elvis?
I love Elvis because it was a gift from my late aunt. She was a very big Elvis fan and it helped me to connect to her while she was passing away, and it became a special interest for me, and his music just speaks the world to me, and the fact that he was different, and so am I.
I mean, he was different, he was unique. I guess everyone is in their own way. What is it that you connect with?
I connect with the songs being different, not conforming to the norm. Elvis was very about being different, making a change in the world, so that inspires me to be the change that I want to be in my local community and hopefully make a difference to somebody else out there.
Do you dance like Elvis?
Yes, I do.
Because, I mean, that in itself was controversial, wasn't it? The Elvis
Yes,
dance.
the jiggle, yes.
It was a jiggle, it was too sexy, it would bring down
Controversy,
the government,
yes.
the country, whatever. But the freedom from dancing. So in my household we have kind of spontaneous family discos every now and again. We've got a little kind of disco light that we put on, and everyone dances around very foolishly and to rock and roll tracks of all descriptions. And it's just fun and it's just freeing. Is that what you do?
Yes, it's nice a way to relax, like de-stimulate for me. If I've been overwhelmed or stressed out during the day, I can just put on my favourite Elvis tracks, dance around like a silly person, no one's watching me, and I can just have the time of my life relaxing, because the music to me is a way of therapy, if you want to call it that. It's kind of a way for me to relax and be myself, and I can just be myself without the barriers.
Dance like no one's watching.
Yes.
So we started the show with Viva Las Vegas. Let's dedicate this next one to your aunt. Do you want to introduce Jailhouse Rock for me, please?
This is Elvis Presley and Jailhouse Rock with Gemma Grace. I'm sharing some of my poetry, which I do to help deregulate me, and I hope that you enjoy listening to it. This one's called Forgiving. There is a light inside of me, but lately I can see it dimming. Dimming and fighting and yelling to see out my voice. Voice, can this be real? I'm trying to find my own ground. Ground on what I stand on below. Everything seems to be taken away from me. Away, I'm still trying to keep the light on around me. Inside myself, deep down, there is forgiveness. Forgiveness, I want to be more like everybody else. Everybody else can help me be forgiven. Forgiven why inside the enemy is my inner critique. Inner critique makes me doubt who I am. Nobody seems to understand what is happening. But I have to keep going when it all seems tough. Tough when everybody is okay and gone, and I have to find the light. The light helps me to continue to fight. I choose to believe that I'm forgiven. Forgiven that I just want to be like everybody in this society.
The Tuesday Takeover.
The second poem, so feeling, I've written down forgiveness here.
Yes.
Tell me about forgiveness. That's quite a powerful word.
Yes, forgiveness to me is something that I've struggled with for most of my life if I've made mistakes with people, and especially recently, again it's linked to the recent passing of Lisa Marie Presley. I was actually listening to her song yesterday, and she has a song called Forgiveness, and it talks about how she's sorry for things that she's done, and I really relate to that, because I'm like, finally someone who gets me, who understands that I can be forgiven, that I can accept that people have forgiven my mistakes or little things I may have said that may have caused offence to people. So it kind of made me relate and go, actually I can use this to express my own way of forgiveness, and hopefully someone will understand the struggle that I've had.
So you find it much harder to forgive yourself for small things that stick in your head,
yes.
Whereas actually people will have forgiven you and it's fine.
Fine, yes.
But it's convincing yourself that is the case.
Yeah. It's like the inner demons in my head, I guess you want to call it that. It's kind of having to think, no, Gemma, that was ages ago. You made a mistake. You've apologised for it. Now it's time to move on. But there's a little bit of me goes, have they really forgiven me? And it's the self-doubt. So, yeah.
I mean, that is what lots of people have. I mean, I have that to a certain extent. There's a line from a Coldplay song called Trouble, where Chris Martin sings, and think of all the stupid things I've said.
Yes.
And I've said plenty of stupid things. And it's, I mean, it's really hard, isn't it? Because you can't change the past. You can't undo, stupid things that you've said.
No, absolutely not.
But most people, we are all very forgiving of lots of other people. I mean, loads of people have done stupid things in and around me, and that just goes. But forgiving yourself and convincing yourself is
really hard. Yes, absolutely.
How do you do that then?
I do that by, I guess, meditation and self-thought, because I've learned to slowly go, okay, Gemma, you may have made a mistake. Take a deep breath, hold it, and then breathe out, and then it kind of gives me all the stress that was in my head, in my chest, to get out. And I'm like, you made that mistake, Gemma, let it go, it's fine, it's a new day tomorrow, you can start over and think of fresh positive thoughts. And then if I make a mistake again, I have the opportunity to apologise to that person and then let it go. It's just the trouble in my head is I go, did I apologise well enough? Did I say that with a genuine tone? Did I actually get through to the person I wanted to? So it's that little thought that just wriggles in your head.
Can I play the Coldplay song? Do you know it? Trouble?
Yes, I do, yes.
Excellent. Let's have this on the Tuesday Takeover then. Coldplay and Trouble. Coldplay and Trouble on the Tuesday Takeover. Good evening, it's Jon Wright. With you through until 7 o'clock. There is football in both Suffolk and Norfolk. So your local sports teams will take over at 7. In conversation this hour with Gemma Grace, sharing her passion for Elvis and some of her poetry. Number of 69 on the Tuesday Takeover. I've got some lovely shows to share with you in the coming weeks. I was out chatting with some first-generation farmers and had some very interesting young people in the studio today interested in making films. So that's all in the next couple of weeks, plus something with swords as well. But tonight, it is all about Gemma Grace.
The Tuesday Takeover.
Good evening, it's the Tuesday Takeover with Gemma Grace, autistic creator and neurodiverse poet. This one's about my diagnosis. This is called Now I Know. Now I know why I've always been different, standing out from the status quo. Status quo, life of what's expected of me, expected to conform to the rules of life. Life never making sense to me. I'm not of the world. The world has a standard of how I should be and how I should act. Act after all this time, now I know I'm finally free. Be who I am, a limited edition, not made for rules. Rules, I have my own way of doing things. Things, now I know who I am and why I act the way I do. I act because I'm autistic and I'm a female. Females often don't get believed when you say autism. They stare at you and they say, really? You? Yes, me, I'm autistic, and now I want to be proud. Proud of my identity. I was created to be authentic. Different to educate the world and being different. It's okay. Okay, I'm autistic. Yes, the struggles are real. Every day is a challenge. Challenge to accept that I am autistic. It's just part of me. Now I know I can be proud of everything that I've done and know the way I am every day. Every day in the world is overstimulating to me. Judgmental and makes me feel I'm not accepted. Now I have to fight these constant stereotypes and assumptions because I'm autistic and female. Female doesn't mean that my autism isn't there. Music through the decades. Decades he put passion into everything, into his movies and to music. Music that told a story that's never been told before. Elvis taught the world to be different. Different because in what you're doing. Elvis did things the way he wanted. He became known as the king to everybody. Everybody across the world called him the king. King who loved gospel and made God his focus Focus on his faith helped him with his success. Success Elvis gained fans, young and old. Young and old connect to his message of achieving and not giving up. Giving up, I found Elvis through my darkest moment when my aunt was passing away. Passing away, she told me about what Elvis did and why she loved him so much. Loved him so much, she said that music helped her to be happy and escape. Happy Elvis made her dance and memories are with me. I started into Elvis to reconnect with my aunt. I started to connect with her and Elvis more. It made me smile and walk forward. Walk forward every day. I know the King and my aunt are always here with me. Here being proud of me and my achievements. Elvis, the King of rock and roll, and my aunt will always walk beside me. Knowing I can't give up, the treasure they told me of everything. Everything in my life is forever, and because the King of rock and roll, Elvis lives on inside me with my aunt will always be with me.
Tuesday Takeover with me, Jon Wright, and my co-host this evening is Gemma Grace. She is sharing poetry about her perspective of being neurodiverse and chatting about some of the themes and sharing some good songs. We're going to hear some Frank Sinatra in a minute, Gemma.
Yes.
Something to Sing About is the poem. Let's hear that first and then we will chat about some of the themes.
This one's called Something to Sing About. Life is a show, we all play our parts. It's all something has come up. I work so hard to fit into this glittering world where you don't get to rehearse. My friends don't understand why I freeze trying to get my words out in a world that doesn't understand. I have a purpose to give me something to sing about. Every day I have to learn to get along by living my way which may be a struggle, and sometimes I want to walk away with tears in my eyes because I'm overwhelmed trying to please everybody and trying to please the world. Everything can make it that much worse. My friends don't understand why I can't explain or why I may refrain from society. Society sees me as a mistake which needs curing or forgetting. I struggle to communicate every day. I have a reason to sing about. I have a best friend, I'm a sister, I'm a daughter, an aunt, a cousin. Something to sing about. I have to be here for the people who need me. As I do matter, you matter, remember every day does get better. Even when my friends do not understand why I may ignore some of the things they say, I have no control. I refrain from society because of the hell that's going on in my mind. I have to choose to get along and ignore all this overload to my head. I have something to sing about. Life is special, and remember, life is living.
So within that poem, Gemma, it has the phrase "my way." You're also kind of talking about trying to please everybody all the time, which again is very common,
Yes.
and you can't do that. And I guess at some point in your life you realise that, and,
Yes.
and then things become easier.
Yeah, especially recently. I suppose since being neurodivergent, I've learned to understand myself and kind of realise that you're not going to please everybody, you're not going to make everybody happy. It's just an unreasonable, unpredictable thing, and society doesn't work that way. So I have to learn to go, okay, I do the best that I can for myself and for the other people in my community, and that should be good enough. But there's still that thought of, I want to do more for people, I always want to do more than what I probably can do, and that gives me a little bit of stress. But I guess that's just the way that I was built. But now I've learned to forgive myself and go, okay, Jeremy, you can only do so much you can do, and then you have to leave at a certain point. So I've learned to forgive myself in that way.
The phrase authentic autistic self you use, and I've heard other people kind of refer to,
Yes.
being your authentic self. So I guess society is changing. It needs to change some more, but it has changed rapidly in our view of the place in the world for people who have disabilities or impairments. And
Yes.
I guess previous generations, you had to conform, and so you had to hide who you were and learn the rules, even though that caused you huge stress and anxiety and things that you would kind of lock away inside. Whereas now, does that mean you're more comfortable in not hiding that? You live your authentic life?
Yes, I think society's come a long way. I think we are more accepting of neurodiversity and neurodiverse individuals. I think that society, still we have a way to go, but we are on better terms than what we used to. And I think also that society is more aware of disabled neurodiverse people. I think we are more accessible towards them now as well, which I find is a lot more easier rather than having to put up, I guess in the past, barriers that I would put up to defend myself, whereas now I'm like, I can be autistic, I can be proud of who I am and not think, oh, I've got to put up these defence barriers because, oh, someone's going to hurt me. So I've learned to be my authentic self, and I'm proud of who I am. I've come a long way in the last 9 years.
Okay, well, let's put that all into song. This is Frank Sinatra and
Listening
My
to the
Way.
Tuesday Takeover, Frank Sinatra and My Way. I'm sharing some of my poetry, which I do to help deregulate me, and I hope that you enjoy listening to it. This one's called Autism Is. Autism is my journey of many emotions like a roller coaster going up and down, very unpredictable. Unpredictable as I experience everything heightened emotions and trying to figure out how to cope in a world that doesn't accept me or I don't fit into as the world doesn't accept difference and me for being me. I'm made to challenge the authority that thinks they know best about me and my future I know what's best for me and my needs. Autism is very misunderstood, as I'm told you're not autistic because you're female. Females mask and mimic in society, so we're not noticed. Noticed as I'm high functioning and independent. Independent people assume that I don't struggle. Struggle every day is a challenge with the stimuli that I experience. I have high pitched noises and smells and voices of people shouting, crying, yelling, too much to process. People ask me, oh, what's wrong with you? Why don't you look at me when I'm talking to you? Why don't you do eye contact? Eye contact is mentally exhausting and processing and daunting and trying to be normal. Normal I'm not proud to be, I'm neurodiverse, my identity. I'm proud of what I've achieved. Achieve my autism is a gift. It's not a disaster, it's a different way of being. Being in this world that doesn't understand me. Understand this though, I'm going to be okay. I'm a person who is born this way. Autism is my gift, my story, a way to be different.
From your poetry, Gemma, and talking about what it's like to be neurodiverse.
Yes.
You talk about your journey. In fact, your very entertaining YouTube channel is about your journey.
Yes, it is. Yes.
And we've spoken before about the need to share that experience, particularly as a woman with an autism diagnosis, because that wasn't something that you saw when you were younger.
No, I didn't. No, I didn't get diagnosed till I was 25 in 2014, so I didn't know that there was anything kind of wrong per se with me up until that point. I had anxiety diagnosis before that. In 2013 I was diagnosed with clinical anxiety disorder, which made sense because I was having highly anxious periods of being stressed out, overwhelmed, not eating, not drinking much, refusing to get up, wash, dressed, and it got to a point where my mum was like, no, this isn't just anxiety, there's something else more obviously wrong, and my mum kind of was the one who pushed it with the doctors, and she realised that something was wrong. I stopped withdrawing from school, and then we finally got to a point where my mum forced me to go to the doctors, and we managed to get a mental health referral, which led to the autism assessment. So it's kind of 2012 to 2014 was rough 2 years of my life that I'll never ever want to go through again.
But having a diagnosis is of benefit to you. You're glad that happened.
Yes, I definitely am glad it's happened because it understands a lot of my struggles that I had. I understand that I am a neurodiverse adult, especially a female, because a lot of females, like I've said, mask, mimic their struggles. It wasn't until recently that I can actually say, I'm proud of who I am. I'm not going to be ashamed or hide my label anymore. I don't need to. So it's the more awareness we can get out there and more acceptance of being a neurodivergent female, then I hope other females can speak out too.
What I have learned from our conversations over the years is, so you describe yourself as high functioning. So
yes.
you can go into a situation like turning up at a radio station and recording poetry and an interview.
Yes.
And someone observing that might think, well, that's fine. Gemma can do that easily. She's come in, she's confident, she's done it,
yeah.
But I know now that all of that comes at a cost.
Yes.
That you have to offset all of that concentration and all of that energy.
Yes.
And it might be that later on today you're feeling overwhelmed, overstimulated by it all.
Potentially, yes.
And other things that you can go and sit down and have Christmas dinner, but again that will you need to offset that, and that's really interesting, and part of I guess the benefit of having a diagnosis, if other people are thinking about people in their networks or their families, that once you realise that that's the mechanism, then it's absolutely fine. You say, okay, well, we'll have the 2 hours of concentrating, and we'll accept the 5 hours where you need to go and do something else, and we'll factor that into what we do. And
exactly.
that's fine. Whereas if we don't understand that, then everything is fine, and then suddenly you go off and need to do something else. And then we go, what did I say? What did I do?
Yeah, this is the thing that people don't realise, because I'm very good at, I guess, mimicking my struggles for the most part. Like you say, I can come in here, I can do an interview, I can do my poetry, everything is woohoo, and Gemma's in a great mood and has focused and got herself calm and has done her deep breathing and has meditated and got myself focused and going, okay, Gemma, business mind, focus, you're in a radio station, calm down. So I have to keep myself fairly calm, and then I go home, and it could take hours, it could take days, and or a little trigger will click in my head, and all of a sudden I feel really lousy. I have a headache that doesn't seem to want to go away. I get really upset for no reason. I can burst into tears at the most silliest little thing that could trigger me. For instance, yesterday I was watching a Elvis documentary on YouTube, and something that was in that, I don't know why, set me off, and I cried, and I was like, Gemma, you were fine a few minutes ago, why now? And then all of a sudden I just had to switch off, and it can just come out of absolute nowhere, just one little thing, it's like bang, done. So it's I guess it's masking in a way, but kind of coping mechanisms in another way. So it's okay to not be okay, I guess, is the message I want to put out there. It's okay to take time out if you need it, because being autistic is hard, and I want people to realise there is days where Gemma is not 100% happy or not 100% woohoo, because that's not practical. There is days where I don't want to get out of bed, but I do it because there's other people that need me, and I go, okay, Gemma, you might not feel well, but let's get on with it. So it's that struggle with coping mechanisms that kick in all of a sudden.
Well, let's put that into a song. Lady Gaga. You like a bit of Lady Gaga?
Yes, I do.
This is, well, I'll let you introduce it.
This is Lady Gaga with Born This Way.
Tune, Lady Gaga and Born This Way, rounding off an hour of conversation and poetry with my Tuesday Takeover co-host, Gemma Grace. If you want to find out more about her work, you can find her YouTube channel, Gemma's Journey Grace. If you search for that, you can see the posts that she regularly does. And if you want to either send her a message of support or maybe ask her questions, then she's open to all of that, and maybe she can come and give a talk to your organisation. It's different aspects of her outreach work. So thank you very much for coming in and doing that. Your sports teams are on the way after the news.